Some places are not created all at once. They are shaped slowly, season by season, decade by decade, through the care of people willing to stay long enough to truly know the land. When I first moved here, I didn't fully understand what I was stepping into. From the outside, people might see a modest mid-century home, quiet streets, old trees. But the house was never really the point. The place was the point. This little pocket of Miller Beach became a kind of nature haven because people before us chose to protect it, nurture it, and live in relationship with it. Not perfectly, not with endless money or resources, but steadily over time. And Thomas Serynek was one of those people. Long before I understood all he had done in the larger world, teaching, conservation work, speaking into Congress, and helping lead Save the Dunes, he was simply my neighbor. A guiding presence, a person I would reference when explaining where I lived. Oh, I live over across from Tom Serynek. And somehow around here, people understood exactly what that meant. He helped create not just space, but the place. A place where owls still call at night, where deer wander through the trees, where wild turkeys cross the road like they own it, where opossums, moles, insects, frogs, and every small living thing still has room to exist. A place where old oaks hold stories longer than any of us have been alive. And we're all just a bit different. And that's where I first began thinking, yep, it's different oaks for different folks. This place changes completely with every season. The winter silence, the spring awakening, the summer abundance, and of course the autumn release. Tom understood that conservation wasn't just about protecting land on paper. It was about teaching people to notice what was already alive around them. And by caring for his land and the neighboring land he chose to protect, he quietly encouraged the rest of us to think differently too. About native plants, about wildlife, about stewardship, and about community. The truth is, places like this do not survive accidentally. They survive because someone cared long before the rest of us arrived. Over time, Tom became one of the central threads holding this neighborhood together. Not through force, not through status, but through consistency, curiosity, and care. The Warren Vigo Block Club became more than just a neighborhood association. It became a way for people to know one another, to celebrate together, to stay connected, to look out for one another, and for the land itself. Tom helped shape that spirit. Before I knew much about his accomplishments, I knew him simply as the neighbor who noticed things. He would text me and say, "Lynn, your trunk is still open." Or, "Lynn, did you know your car light is still on?" Small moments, everyday moments. But those are often the moments that quietly define community. He would talk about how the neighborhood had changed over the years, about the challenges the area once faced, about how awareness, connection, and simply knowing your neighbors helped create safety and trust on these dead-end streets tucked into the woods near Lake Michigan. He believed people should know each other, and he believed people should know the land beneath their feet. Tom spent years as a teacher in Gary, sharing science and environmental education with generations of students. He later became deeply involved with Save the Dunes, helping advocate for conservation and protection of the natural spaces that make Northwest Indiana unlike anywhere else. But even with all those accomplishments, he never carried himself in a way that felt distant. He was approachable, curious, passionate, and endlessly willing to share what he knew. And people felt that. One of my favorite traditions he created were the full moon walks. Every season of the year, neighbors would gather together and walk through the neighborhood beneath the moonlight, and then walk through the dunes, and then back home. Sometimes 20 people or more. Quiet conversations, seasonal air, the sound of the trees shifting around us. Those walks changed the way I experienced this place. Tom was also the first person to bring me to the lupin trails at Miller Woods. He would point out native plants, talk about wildlife, and explain the delicate balance of the dune ecosystem with a kind of enthusiasm that made you want to learn more, simply because he cared so deeply about it himself. And he loved talking about his family. You could feel how proud he was of them. That legacy of conservation and stewardship clearly continues through them, through their own love of animals, nature, and community care. Even this past Easter, after his passing in March of 2026, his family still gathered at the house together, something that they had been doing for years. There is something deeply moving about traditions, continuing in a space so filled with memory. And then there were the cats, Blaze and Clancy. Blaze especially liked to ignore the idea of property lines entirely. He would wander over while I shoveled snow and sit nearby like he owned the place. One time he surprised me by jumping onto my car on top of my moonroof, and after that, we had our own little friendship. Tom would jokingly scold him. That's not a loyal kitty. But really, Blaze just seemed to believe the whole neighborhood belonged to him. Now, Blaze and Clancy are adjusting to a completely different world, too. And you can feel that absence, not just in the house, but in the rhythm of the neighborhood itself. It reminds me how easy it is to assume there will always be more time. More walks, more conversations, more gatherings, more chances to say yes. Life moves quickly, people get busy, and sometimes we do not realize how important certain moments are until the person who created them is no longer here. While I was not with Tom every day like some of the neighbors were, I was lucky enough to know him consistently over these past 8 years, and that consistency mattered. The check-ins, conversations, stories, the seasonal traditions, the simple awareness of another person nearby who genuinely cared. If a place can hold memory, and I believe it does, then Tom is still very much present here. In the trees, in the moonwalks, in the block club gatherings, in the protected land, in the wildlife that still moves through these trees, and in the 2 cats who still wait for someone to open the door and welcome them home. So, if you or someone you know may be interested in helping Blaze and Clancy find their next forever home together, please do reach out. Because caring for place also means caring for the living beings still left within it.